My name is Tom Chikansky. I'm the Director of Collections and Exhibits at the National WWII Museum, and I was in charge of overseeing the restoration of the P-40 that's now hanging in our campaign's pavilion. The P-40 had an extensive career in World War II. It was one of the planes that we began using as a Lend-Lease plane for Britain, and it was also the first plane that we had for Lend-Lease with the Soviet Union. At the beginning of the war, it was our primary pursuit plane. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they were answered with P-40s. And it was also important in the China-Burma India theater, and that's often overlooked or underrepresented. It served in every theater of the war, served with all of our allies, and continued in service throughout the end of the war.
Alaskan Flying Tigers, commanded by the son of China's famous General Chennault, are constantly on the alert. Taking to their ships, ready for instant action, they're playing an important role in keeping the Japs from American soil.
The identifiable plane serial number that goes with our restoration was a plane that was flown up to Cold Bay, Alaska. That's at the very tip of the Alaskan peninsula that leads down to the Aleutian Islands. The time it was in Cold Bay, it was flying patrols and support missions. This is the same time that the Japanese had taken over Kiska and Attu. And so there was very active war up in the Aleutians at the time that it got there. And it was a dirt field, and it was very cold, and it had a ground taxiing accident and was so badly damaged that they shoved it off to the side of the field, probably took parts off of it as needed, and eventually when the Air Force left Cold Bay, they shoved it in a ditch and buried it.
As you can see how the whole aircraft is put together here, and we've assigned different teams to different assemblies. No single part on this aircraft is flat, square, or 90 degrees. Everything has to be made uniquely.
Our restoration crew, Flyboys, is based out of San Diego. Rolando Gutierrez and his crew, and they did the actual restoration of the plane.
I'm an engineer by degree, and after 35 years of being an executive, I returned to school and studied and obtained my aircraft maintenance certificate and began to do what I dreamed of doing all my life, which is restore old World War II aircraft.
Well, it looked horrible when we first got it. It was just beat up, corroded, disintegrated. One of the wings that we got looked like there are some panels that we could take off and then put new ones on. But when we started pulling the panels off, the skin panels, we realized that there was nothing left inside, that all the bulkheads, all the ribs, all the stringers was just dust. It was gone.
Everything is just so rare. So having to duplicate a part, and the original part is twisted and mangled and it's been through a war.
A lot of it was they don't have the tooling and stuff that they had back then. It's all gone. There's hardly any of these planes left, so there's no need for the tools. So we had to make all the parts by hand. That was some of those were challenging.
And there's sometimes 6 layers, 7 layers of material that you have to build in different areas. Plus there's bulkheads, webs, and all these things have to fit in perfect harmony. And if they don't, one of them just knocked off, it just doesn't work, and we got to start over.
The plans show a flat representation of the part, and it doesn't tell you the order that the parts go together. It just tells you what parts are where.
And the challenge, aside from getting the dimensions, is sometimes we can't read the dimensions. So we have to do the calculation of how that engineer was thinking and how he went about in solving that part.
I came to San Diego, Camp Pendleton, when I joined the Marine Corps in 2000, where I learned to work on aircraft, and I've been doing it just about ever since.
My great-great-aunt was in the war, and she was an aircraft mechanic. My grandpa was an aircraft mechanic, so it's kind of something that is in my heritage.
I joined the military when I was about 18 years old. Went to Iraq and got injured as an infantryman, and kind of rethought my future. So I went to school for airframe power plant mechanic.
My father was a Depression baby. As a child, I remember him always drawing images of World War II fighters, and that's how he and I connected. And what he passed I felt that the only way that I could keep that connection was to pursue something that I felt that he would be very happy with me doing, that he would be very proud. But it's really that bond and that connection that I had with a father who grew up during the war and who grew up during very difficult times.
This aircraft was built up using the original techniques and plans so that the parts internally are replicated, and when you're finished with it you can see that the rivets end up in the right places, the density of the rivets, the whole plane really presents itself well.
Most of the time we were building it, in pieces here and sections there, and then finally getting to see, that piece come together, this piece put together, the wings on. It was cool. It was a really cool feeling.
There's only a handful of people in the world who have built one of these planes. There's so few left. And just being a part of that's what was rewarding for me.
Coming from an infantry background, I know what it means to have planes in the air. Building the P-40 in there, it just kind of gave me a more respect for the guys that came before me in World War II.
Because our crews were comprised of mostly wounded warriors, veterans of the current wars, and students, is a way for us to not only understand what they went through. As we were putting the planes together, we would see that there was very little protection between a pilot and the hostile environment that he was flying in. So it was a way of us understanding how brave these men were. And it is also a way for us to say, thank you, we will never forget you.